Over 60? Add this to your coffee to rebuild muscles. Coffee, a familiar friend in the morning, a warm routine you've trusted for years. But what if that same cup could do something completely unexpected? What if, with one small change, your morning coffee became the single most powerful tool to rebuild muscle after 60, helping you stand up easier, climb stairs with confidence, and keep your independence for years to come? I'm Dr. Jonathan Hale. For over 30 years, I've helped older adults stay strong, steady, and independent. And I can tell you this: muscle loss after 60 is not just getting older. It has a name, sarcopenia, and it steals 3 to 8% of your muscle mass every decade after midlife. But here's the part few people know. A study from the University of Copenhagen found that older adults who timed their morning coffee with key nutrients increased muscle protein synthesis by nearly 50% compared to those who only took protein. 50% more muscle building, simply by using coffee as the delivery system. Think about that. The drink you already enjoy turned into a tool for strength. But let's be clear, coffee by itself is only the engine. A powerful one, yes, like a Porsche engine sitting in your driveway. Built for performance, ready to roar. But even the finest engine won't take you anywhere without the right fuel. Add the right nutrients at the right time, and that engine doesn't just start your day, it drives real power into your muscles, your legs, your arms, your core, the very strength you need to stay independent. Coffee opens the system, the nutrients become the building blocks. Your muscles are the construction site, time it right, and suddenly the signals are clear, the materials are delivered, and rebuilding begins, even after 60. And here's the best part. It doesn't require a gym, it doesn't require expensive supplements. Many of these ingredients cost less than a cup of diner coffee. Some might already be in your kitchen right now. So before we dive into those 5 ingredients, I want to invite you to join our growing community of health warriors over 60. We're building a worldwide circle of people who believe in staying strong, sharp, and independent through simple, science-backed habits like this one. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and drop your city or state in the comments below. Let's see just how far this movement for healthier, longer lives can reach. Because after 60, it's not about doing more. It's about doing what works. Let's start with the foundation, collagen. After 60, your body produces 50 to 75% less collagen than it did in your 20s. Collagen isn't just for skin. Roughly 10% of your muscle is collagen, and your tendons and ligaments rely on it like scaffolding around a building. When that scaffolding thins, everyday moves feel heavier. Your grip softens. Stairs feel steeper. Knees and shoulders complain before you even begin. Here's the hopeful part. In a randomized trial from the University of Freiburg, adults over 60 who took 15 grams of collagen peptides daily for 12 weeks gained lean mass and reported less joint discomfort, even without heavy training. Why? Collagen peptides are pre-digested into small di- and tripeptides. They cross the gut quickly, delivering glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, the exact amino acids your connective tissues and muscle matrix use to repair. Coffee makes this easier to implement. Hot coffee dissolves collagen cleanly, so you get a smooth cup without clumps or flavor. Add vitamin C, and you give your body a crucial cofactor for collagen synthesis. Vitamin C drives the hydroxylation steps that stabilize new collagen. A simple squeeze of lemon, or 250 to 500 milligrams of vitamin C with your coffee, is enough. Let me ground this in a real-life case. Robert is 68, a retired electrician. Weak hands made pill bottles and pickle jars a daily battle. He began with 1 scoop of collagen peptides in his morning coffee for 1 week, then moved to 2 scoops. No complicated routine, no pricey shakes. At 6 weeks, his doctor measured grip strength up by 12 pounds. He was carrying groceries again, fixing a loose hinge, feeling like himself. That's not just vanity muscle. That's practical strength returning. Dosing is simple. Use 10 to 15 grams in your first cup, ideally within 30 minutes of waking. Coffee is the engine that gets your system online. Collagen is part of the fuel. For best results, follow the coffee 30 to 45 minutes later with a protein-rich breakfast that delivers at least 30 grams of protein. That timing helps your muscles switch from breakdown to building. We'll talk about leucine later, but know this. Pairing collagen and coffee with a solid breakfast makes the whole morning more anabolic. A few tips. Choose a plain, unflavored collagen peptide powder from a reputable brand. Grass-fed bovine or high-quality marine sources both work. Stir thoroughly. If you like a creamier texture, a 5 to 10-second blend is fine. If you want a little warmth and blood flow support without sugar, a pinch of Ceylon cinnamon pairs well. Most people tolerate collagen well. If you have specific medical conditions or are on specialty diets, check with your clinician first. Think of collagen as rebuilding the beams and bolts. You're restoring the structure that lets muscle fibers transmit force. Once that structure is reinforced, the next step is to supply clean, steady energy so those reinforced systems actually perform through the day. That's where MCT oil comes in, the fuel that helps the engine run smoothly after you've fixed the frame. Now let's talk about MCT oil. After you've repaired the frame with collagen, you need clean, steady power to keep the system running. That's what medium-chain triglycerides, MCTs, deliver. They digest differently from regular fats. Instead of taking hours to break down, MCTs go straight to the liver and convert to ketones, a premium fuel your muscles and brain can burn almost immediately. A 2020 study in the Journal of Nutrition, Health and Aging found that adults over 60 who added MCT oil daily improved not just body composition, more lean mass, less fat, but also functional strength compared to those using long-chain fats. Ketones provided a rapid energy source that spared muscle tissue from being broken down for fuel, especially important during fasting periods like your overnight sleep. Patricia, age 71, felt this firsthand. 2 months ago, she could barely carry groceries without resting halfway. She began adding 1 teaspoon of C8/C10 MCT oil to her morning coffee, slowly working up to a full tablespoon. By week 3, she noticed she wasn't out of breath on the stairs. By week 8, she was moving through her day with energy to spare. No crashes, no mid-afternoon naps. A DEXA scan even showed 3% more lean mass and 5% less body fat after 8 weeks. Why does timing matter? Because the morning window, right after fasting, is when your body naturally shifts toward repair. Coffee wakes up the engine. MCT oil drops clean fuel into the system before your first meal, so muscles have energy to use dietary protein for building rather than burning for fuel. Start with 1 teaspoon, blend it well. It makes the coffee creamy and slightly sweet without sugar. If you tolerate it, work up to a tablespoon over 1 to 2 weeks. And choose the right kind. Look for C8 and C10 MCTs. C8 turns into ketones fastest, up to 3 times faster than C10, and both beat C12, which behaves more like regular fat. Think of it this way. Collagen rebuilt the roads. MCT oil sends the energy cars speeding down them efficiently, delivering power to muscles, brain, and nerves without the traffic jam of slower digesting fats. Next, we'll layer in a compound that doesn't just fuel muscles, but actually reloads their energy batteries, so every rep, every movement feels easier. Creatine monohydrate. Collagen rebuilt the structure. MCT oil delivered clean energy. But muscles also need fast, rechargeable power for every movement. Standing from a chair, carrying groceries, climbing stairs. That's what creatine provides. Creatine is the quick charge battery for your muscles. And after 60, that battery starts running dangerously low. Research shows that by the time you hit your 60s and 70s, your muscles may have lost up to 50% of their stored creatine. Those reserves act like the instant power supply for movement. Standing up from a chair, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, or bending down to pick up a grandchild. When the reserves are full, the movements feel effortless. But when they run low, every action feels heavier, your legs fatigue faster, and recovery after simple chores takes longer than it should. That's why creatine monohydrate is one of the most studied and most effective nutrients for older adults. A landmark clinical trial at McMaster University followed men and women over 65 who took 5 grams of creatine every morning for 12 weeks. They didn't start a new exercise routine. They didn't join a gym. Yet by the end of the study, participants gained an average of 3.3 pounds of lean muscle and improved their leg strength by 30%. Even more surprising, memory tests showed a 20% boost in cognitive function. Creatine was fueling both the body and the brain. George, a 74-year-old from Texas, shared a story I'll never forget. For years, he struggled to maintain his yard. Mowing the lawn left him drained for the rest of the day. Carrying bags of soil was out of the question. He was seriously considering hiring help because he just couldn't keep up anymore. 3 months after adding creatine to his morning coffee, without changing anything else, George wasn't just mowing his lawn again. He was building raised garden beds, carrying heavy tools, and finishing projects that had been sitting unfinished for years. His son told me, "It's like watching him turn the clock back a decade. Here's how to use it. Add 1 teaspoon, about 5 grams of plain creatine monohydrate, to your coffee while it's still hot. The heat helps it dissolve completely, and the caffeine in coffee actually improves how well your muscles absorb it. Take it every single day, even on days when you're not active, because it takes about 4 weeks of steady use to fully recharge your muscle stores. Drink at least 8 cups of water throughout the day. This isn't optional. Creatine works by pulling water into your muscle cells, keeping them hydrated and ready for action. That extra hydration is part of how it supports strength, power, and endurance. Some people gain 2 to 4 pounds in the first weeks. Not fat, but healthy water weight inside the muscles. And don't waste money on fancy creatine blends like creatine HCl or buffered creatine. Decades of studies show that plain creatine monohydrate, the kind that costs pennies per serving, is the gold standard for safety, effectiveness, and long-term use. Collagen rebuilt the structure, MCT oil delivered clean energy, creatine recharges the batteries so your muscles can actually fire when you need them. Now let's flip the master switch that tells those muscles to start growing again, with Leucine. If creatine recharges the batteries, Leucine flips the master switch that tells your muscles, grow. Here's the problem. After 60, your muscles become resistant to growth signals. You can eat the same protein you did at 30, but your muscles barely notice. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. It's one of the hidden reasons older adults lose strength so quickly, even when they're eating well. Leucine is the key to unlocking that resistance. This essential amino acid directly activates a pathway in your muscle cells called mTOR. Think of it as the foreman at a construction site. Without the foreman, all the workers, the other amino acids, just stand around with nowhere to go. When Leucine steps in, it shouts the orders that tell your body to start building new muscle fibers right now. And the research is crystal clear. A study from the University of Texas gave older adults a breakfast drink with 2.8 grams of Leucine. Despite eating only moderate protein, muscle protein synthesis shot up by 57% compared to the low Leucine group, which only saw a 35% rise. In other words, the same food built almost twice as much muscle just by adding Leucine. But here's what makes it even better. When you take Leucine with your morning coffee, you stack the deck in your favor. Coffee improves insulin sensitivity and blood flow, so those muscle cells are wide open, ready to absorb nutrients. The small insulin boost triggered by Leucine itself actually helps shuttle amino acids directly into muscle tissue. Instead of drifting around in your bloodstream, they go straight to the job site. Let me share one more story. Evelyn, a 69-year-old retired teacher, told me she was frustrated because she was already eating plenty of protein, but still felt weaker every year. We added 3 grams of Leucine to her morning coffee and told her to follow it with a high-protein breakfast, at least 30 grams of protein, within the hour. By her 6-week check-in, she said she could finally get out of her favorite recliner without pushing on the armrests. By 3 months, she was walking a mile every morning with her neighbor, something she hadn't done in years. Here's how to use it. Add 2.5 to 3 grams of Leucine powder to your morning coffee, right along with your collagen, MCT oil, and creatine. If the taste is too bitter, a touch of stevia or monk fruit works well. Then about 30 minutes later, Eat a solid breakfast with at least 30 grams of protein. The leucine primes your muscles to respond, so that protein works harder for you, building muscle instead of being wasted. Collagen rebuilt the frame, MCT oil fueled your energy, creatine recharged the batteries. Leucine throws the switch that tells your body to start building again. Next, let's add one more ingredient that improves how your muscles use every bit of nutrition you give them, while adding a flavor boost you'll actually look forward to. Now let's talk about the final ingredient, the one that brings everything together while adding a touch of warmth and flavor to your coffee: Ceylon cinnamon. Most people think of cinnamon as just a spice for baking, but research shows this humble ingredient can help aging muscles use nutrients more effectively, and it's especially important after 60 when insulin resistance often creeps in. Here's the problem. As we age, our muscle cells become less sensitive to insulin. Insulin is the hormone that unlocks your cells so nutrients can enter. When sensitivity drops, the protein and amino acids you eat have a harder time getting into your muscles where they can actually build new tissue. Scientists call this metabolic resistance, and it silently robs older adults of strength year after year. Ceylon cinnamon helps reverse that. Compounds in the cinnamon bark activate insulin receptors on your cells and improve the movement of glucose transporters, tiny doors that carry fuel and nutrients inside. A clinical study in Pakistan found that just 3 grams of Ceylon cinnamon per day for 4 months improved insulin sensitivity by up to 20% in adults with metabolic resistance. Better insulin sensitivity means better delivery of every nutrient you consume, from protein and leucine to vitamins and minerals, straight into your muscle tissue. And the benefits don't stop there. Cinnamon also improves blood flow by boosting nitric oxide, which relaxes blood vessels. More blood flow means more oxygen, and nutrients reach your muscles, speeding up recovery and growth. On top of that, cinnamon contains powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that help calm the chronic low-grade inflammation linked to muscle loss, joint pain, and fatigue in older adults. I think of Helen, a 73-year-old from Vermont, who told me her fasting glucose was creeping up year after year, even though she was eating well. We added half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon to her morning coffee routine, along with the collagen, MCT oil, creatine, and leucine you've already learned about. 3 months later, not only was she walking with more energy, but her doctor told her that her glucose control had improved enough to avoid medication adjustments. Here's how to use it. Sprinkle 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon into your coffee each morning. Make sure it's Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes labeled true cinnamon, not the common cassia type, which contains higher levels of coumarin, a compound that can stress the liver in large amounts. With Ceylon cinnamon, you're not just adding flavor, you're creating the perfect environment for your muscles to use every bit of nutrition you give them, so you get the maximum benefit from all the other ingredients in your enhanced coffee. Now let's put it all together into one simple, practical routine you can start tomorrow morning. Because knowing what to do is one thing. Actually doing it every single day without confusion or guesswork is what leads to real results. So here's exactly how to prepare your muscle-building coffee and when to drink it for maximum benefit. Start with your regular coffee, about 8 to 10 ounces, brewed the way you like it. While the coffee is still hot, stir in 10 to 15 grams of collagen peptides. Heat helps it dissolve completely, and it blends best before adding anything else. Remember, collagen gives your muscles the raw materials for structure and your joints the support they need. Next, add 5 grams of creatine monohydrate. That's about 1 teaspoon. It has no taste and disappears in hot liquid. Creatine is your muscle's quick charge battery, helping you stand, climb, and move with confidence instead of fatigue. Then comes MCT oil. Start with 1 teaspoon if you're new to it, and work up to a tablespoon over 2 weeks. MCT oil gives you clean, steady energy, and even supports fat metabolism and hormone balance. Just stir it slowly so it blends well, or give it a quick spin in a blender for a creamy texture. After that, add 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine or an essential amino acid blend. This flips the growth switch in your muscles, telling them to actually use the protein and energy you're giving them. If the taste seems slightly bitter, a few drops of stevia or monk fruit can help without adding sugar. Finally, sprinkle in 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. This not only adds a pleasant flavor, but also improves insulin sensitivity and blood flow. So every nutrient in this coffee gets delivered exactly where it's needed most. Drink this coffee within 30 minutes of waking up before breakfast. That timing matters. After an overnight fast, your body is primed to absorb nutrients efficiently. Then about 30 minutes after finishing your coffee, follow it up with a protein-rich breakfast. Aim for at least 30 grams of quality protein. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a simple protein smoothie all work well. The leucine in your coffee primes your muscles, and the breakfast protein gives them the building blocks they need to grow stronger. Do this 5 to 6 days per week for at least 8 weeks. Track simple progress markers, how easily you stand from a chair, climb stairs, or carry groceries. Some people even notice better balance, fewer aches, or more steady energy within 2 to 3 weeks. But the real muscle-building benefits keep growing the longer you stay consistent. Collagen builds the frame. MCT oil fuels your body. Creatine charges your muscles. Leucine flips the growth switch. And cinnamon makes sure every bit of it gets used efficiently. All in one cup, once a day. It started with Robert opening a stubborn pill bottle, Patricia carrying her own groceries, George mowing his lawn after years of feeling too weak. Alone, each story might seem small, but together they point to something bigger. A quiet revolution happening in kitchens all across the country. Every scoop of collagen, every teaspoon of MCT oil, every morning coffee stirred with creatine. They're adding up to more than stronger legs or steadier hands. They're giving people over 60 the confidence to climb stairs, to carry their grandkids, to live without fear that age has taken too much. And maybe the next story won't be Robert's or Patricia's or George. Maybe it'll be yours. So here's what we've learned. 5 simple additions: collagen, MCT oil, creatine, leucine, and a touch of Ceylon cinnamon. Turn your ordinary coffee into something extraordinary. Not a fad, not a gimmick, but a science-backed way to give your muscles the building blocks, the energy, and the signals they need to stay strong after 60. And it doesn't require perfection. You don't have to add every ingredient every single day. What matters most is consistency, not complexity. A small habit repeated over weeks will always beat the perfect routine you give up after 3 days. So tomorrow morning, when you stir that cup of coffee, remember Robert opening that pill bottle, Patricia carrying her groceries, George mowing his lawn. Think about what a few weeks could mean for your own strength, your independence, your confidence. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Which ingredient will you try first? Collagen for your joints, creatine for strength, maybe MCT oil for energy? And if you're new here, we're building a worldwide community of health warriors, people over 60 who believe in staying sharp, strong, and independent through the power of natural healing. Subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss the science-backed habits that keep us thriving. And drop your country in the comments below. Let's see how far this movement for healthier, longer lives can reach. Here's to stronger mornings and stronger years ahead.